Hey, this is Shep. I'm here to tell you a few cards that you might want to buy raw and try to get graded. Today, we're going to take a look at Magikarp number 203. Let's take a look at the near mint version over here on TCG Player. It's dropped in price. So it was just a month and a half ago that it was $400. Now down to $300, with the most recent sales coming in 250, 260. These are some low price, 240 down here roughly. Some lower prices there coming in on TCG Player. If you take a look at the most recent auctions though, the price has held here on price charting $2,000 throughout the last month and a half. The most recent sales have dropped below $2,000. But I think it is a ratio of going from 400 to 300 is 25%. A ratio here between 2200 down to $1,900 is less. So I think there's a lot of value in getting this card right now for $100 cheaper and still getting close to that $2,000 value. The multiplier there is absolutely huge. I want to take a look at these last two auctions that went out for PSA 10 just to show you. The first one here being $1,900 with the PSA Vault. Probably the largest seller on eBay. It's an auction, which is, I believe, the most valid pricing that you can look at, especially if you want to sell it quickly instead of holding. $1,900 is strong. Over here's the other comp that came in recently, $1,875. So basically $1,900. And that's with Z and G Emporium. They only do TCG slabs and they run them Sunday only, and they're huge. So look, they got 48,000 reviews. It's another huge consignment company. Trust data points here, I believe. So if I were you, I would try to find some Magikarp raw and that's PSA worthy. I would personally be okay with paying over comp if I found something really sweet, because really minty, because the value is just there. $300 to even $1,800. That's a 6-time multiplier. That's plenty enough to cover your reselling fees. That's plenty enough to cover your grading fees. If you went with PSA, of course, that's what you want to try to do. The PSA fees for cards that come in over $1,000 really start at the $75 price point. So there's plenty of wiggle room in there to try that card. If you believe in that Magikarp, to try it once or twice. I'm talking, if it doesn't work out, you get the card back from PSA pretty quick at the $75 price point within probably 3 weeks or so right now. You can crack it, send it back in if you truly believe in it. So I would definitely keep my eyes out for the Magikarp 203. The next card I'd like to share with you is the Greninja Gold Star from Celebrations promo SWSH 144. This is a really great card to get graded. As you can see, the sales over the last year, the card has gone from $1.77. It peaked up at $24 pretty recently. September, spent at $20 last month. Coming down here now, you can get these cards for $16. If you're lucky, you can get them graded for a PSA 10, because check out what's going on here with the PSA. It's really gone up since the card came out in 2022 tremendously. We're up to some sales close to and over $1,000 here as you just look back over the last month and a half or so. Some big sales. Let's take a closer look here. Really, we use price charting just to get a general idea of the growth of it and the charting of a card's value. But you really got to nail it down. You got to take a look at the comps over here on eBay. And I like to particularly look at the auctions. So here we have our last couple auctions, 556, 692. We had some buy it nows, 750 and 800. And those are valid too. You just sometimes have to wait a while for them to sell at the price you want them to sell at if you set a high end price that's over what the auction comps are at the time. This even went for $900. If it was a buy it now, the best offer, you can see here there's a slash through it. What price charting really has been able to do Lately, they've upgraded their system to where it shows you the actual best offer price that was accepted. Used to, they didn't do that, but I'm pretty sure they've upgraded this here. You can now see the actual accepted best offer price. So you might see something marked through here on eBay. You don't know what the price is. You go over here on price charting, it will reflect the current price. A lot of other apps have been doing that for a while. I believe price charting's finally caught up. Something else I noticed about price charting is if you're looking at the raw cards, the ungraded card, it actually gives you the TCG player prices now, which is really awesome for that condition near mint is what we're looking for. And you can look at the eBay only, and you can look at a combination of both. So I do think price charting has done a much better job recently of giving us a more accurate value by comparing the eBay value with the TCG player values, giving us a good general consensus of what's going on there. Really happy with what price charting's been doing, by the way. But back to the auctions over here and the buy it nows on eBay, the most recent comps over the last month and a half. These are the last 2 or 3 weeks here. You did have offer this buy it now on October 27th went for $11.50, more than double of this recent auction. So if you're patient, sometimes it can really pay off. This is a absolutely huge multiplier. These auctions here, by the way, were more individual type auctions. Let me show you. These aren't big consignment companies. This is not from the PSA vault. I can tell from the image somebody just took it. But it's just a regular person with 18 feedback. So maybe not going to get as nearly as many eyeballs as like the large consignment companies that you'll see on eBay. Also, them guys or gals doing a lot better, 14, 15 with their feedback. However, still not a great price. Not a lot of eyeballs on that. And these sellers typically won't want to put promotions on to compete. It's just too expensive. The fees are already close to 14%. Plus, you got to pay for the shipping, supplies, and all that kind of thing. Let's take a look at the actual reason why the cost of the card is so low. Over here on TCG, you can see the low cost of this card throughout the last couple years. This is the last year right here. Why is it such a high multiplier? And it simply comes down to the population and how many cards are actually getting gem 10s with PSA. 2,500 roughly out of almost 32,000 cards. Okay, let me just do some quick math on this here. 8% gem rate. Very difficult for this card to get PSA 10, but clearly lots of people are trying for a card to be graded nearly 32,000 times. That's a lot. Now these typically come, I mean, they originally came in individual clear sealed um, bags. However, um, you'll find a lot of them now that's been opened from the sealed bags. Even if you find them with the sealed bag, it is a good card to look through the sealed bag to see. It's not really hidden in there with a bunch of card dividers or anything like that. These cards, you can analyze them pretty well in their sealed clear packaging. So you got to keep your eyes out for these. I've been able to get a PSA 10 on at least two of these that I can recall over the past year. So it certainly is well within reasonable. It certainly is quite possible to get a PSA 10 on this card. You should definitely give it a shot. I got one more card for you here. The Mimikyu VSWSH09 from Brilliant Stars. This has done something very interesting data-wise. I wanted to show you. Over the last 3 months, the low point was right around the $45 mark or so. It's jumped up in the last couple months. It's up to over $60 now. Here's some recent sales, with the most recent one being over $70. Very interesting because let me show you this. The PSA 10 for this same card has actually been dropping a bit. With over the last month and a half, it's been around the mid 300s, even upper 300s, all the way down to the low 200s now. Very interesting. So, what do we make of this? data. As we look, really dial it in on the recent comps on eBay, we got big consigners like DC Sports 87 doing an auction, PSA doing an auction, and them coming around $230 on the auctions. We got some bet buy nows at $240. Here's another auction just a couple days ago, $246. We got $255. The price has dropped, so it's kind of like narrowing in. We take a look at the gem rate on this one. Let me just grab this one right here. DC Sports 87, a huge consigner. They don't do just sports, they do quite a bit of Pokemon. I've sent tons to them, and they do a good job. If you take a look here, 7,333 have been graded, with 4,212 that have gotten gems, which is a 57.4% gem rate. It's a really relatively easy card to get a gem 10 with PSA. So it's a pretty safe bet. So if we take a look at the spreads going in the wrong direction, you may say to yourself, well, it's not a good time to get this card graded, but it might be a good time to buy the PSA 10. Just straight up buy the PSA 10 at 233 if you want to play the stock market a bit, because it with the indication of the raw card going up, you would assume that the PSA 10s are also going to follow eventually when the market gets back in line with this card. Most cards are going down right now. This Mimikyu is going up. I would personally, of course, still try to get this graded, because the spread between a $60 to $70 card and it winding up at 233 is not too bad. It's at least 3-time multiplier. And I think the minimum you want to really do is 2 to 2.5. I like to say 2.5 because there's fees involved. The lower the value of the card, the more of a multiplier I believe you need. Higher value cards, I would be okay with buying $1,000 card that gems at 2,000. There's going to be lower fees if you send it off to consignment company, with many consignment companies going as low as 8%, 5%. They sometimes even run specials for something cheaper with the holidays coming up. So I would consider maybe with a card like this being lower value card for getting graded, it still has that 2.5 to 3 times multiplier that I believe is needed to get you where you want to be, especially with the 54% gem rate. You could probably buy 10 of these, send them all in. If you can hit 50%, you're going to come out way ahead. Especially if you have the time and you can wait a couple months to see how the market goes on these. Mimikyu has been really hot lately. I would definitely invest in this, whether it is trying to get it graded from a raw card or buying the PSA 10. Very unusual with the way the market's been going the last couple of weeks to see a card raising in value as a raw card and lowering value as a PSA 10. So I think you can use that knowledge to work for your favor however you see it and whatever angle you find it in it as an investor. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. Please like and subscribe and comment so I can keep the channel going. Thank you very much.